Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is for you. I'm Cyclone. It's time for more Let's Play Train Simulator Classic. I said last time we were going to do it, and here we are. We're going to do it. We're at Suburban Glasgow northwest to Airdrie. Now you can see it is a separate route from the other Suburban Glasgow route, which is up here. You can see the original scenario set all up here, all sitting there with their gold stars still on them. So it is a completely separate route because of the way that Steam DRM works. It can't just be added on as you can, for example, at Just Trains, for example. Where they're able to add on all the Midland mainline portions to their route, whereas on Steam, their MML releases are all separate routes. You have to get them as separate routes. You can't add on Steam either without bundling stuff, and they haven't put their merged route onto Steam as a separate bundle, so it's all individual routes on Steam, for example. So in any case, yeah, we are able to play this as a separate route. The entire original route is in here, with just a little bit add on to Airdrie and more beyond, which I'm going to talk about later because I did find some information about that might be of interest for certain people in the audience out there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first scenario. I picked up two scenarios that I'm going, or picked out rather, two scenarios I'm going to do first. I'm doing Maid and Monkland first, mainly because it's the easiest difficulty, but also because it gives us a little bit of the existing route, plus the path to Airdrie. We're going to then move into a Spring Hill in my step, slightly longer, but it also goes up to Milngavie, which we've only seen, I think, once, maybe twice, going in the other direction. We might have gone both ways, I don't remember. But in any case, those are the two that we're going to be doing. We're going to come back at some point to the other level 3 scenario here, which is in Aberdeen and Inverness to Edinburgh. So this will be a little portion of a freight service at some point. We might do that on... I don't know if it's going to be that one or a different one on Tuesday, because I'm also looking at the 66, which is the other freight train that comes with the route. Prestwick to Grangemouth from the City Union Line to Coatbridge. That might be the one we do on Tuesday, in fact. I'll figure that out. I think that's my Tuesday one. But in any case, we also have the final one, which is the Helensburgh Radler, which is a full route service from Airdrie all the way to Helensburgh Central. I'm going to save that for a revisit. I'm going to be doing the Spring Hill. I might change my mind. I might do that one on Tuesday as well. I haven't decided yet. But I definitely know the two I'm doing first are Maid and Monkland, and then a Spring Hill in my step. I'll figure out Tuesday later. So here's Maid and Monkland. We're going to do that first. An all-stopper service from Partick to Airdrie. And I have to note, I did say the name in the previous videos as Patrick. I couldn't get my head around the T and the R being the other way around. And once I saw it one way, I kind of just memorized it that way. It is Partick Station. So in all the videos where I said Patrick, that is wrong. It's Partick Station, as you can see in the spelling here. So that's the first one we're going to do, the Partick to Airdrie. And that's about, I guess you could say about half the route, but we are doing all stops beyond the split as well. So let's get started. I went ahead and did a manual pause. I just noticed the scenarios don't pause. Hello, driver, and welcome to this service from Bulloch to Airdrie, period. You are picking the train up from Partick. Yes, we are. So I guess they didn't want to give us the full service from Bulloch for some reason. Not sure why that is, but it gives us a short starting scenario, so I guess that's not bad. Open the doors and allow passengers to board for a 7:47 departure. Copy that. Doors are open. Message box is gone. And after you pause, it actually goes away automatically because the time expires while you're paused, which is kind of nice. We'll bring the HUD up. Yep, that's normal. We're going to move this to a step 1 brake setup here. And I think we have some time to kill before departure. Yes, we have a minute and a half before we have to depart. So we're going to have time to look at the train and remind ourselves what Suburban Glasgow looks like. Passengers have now boarded the train. Please proceed at 7:47 to the next timetabled stop at Charing Cross. Copy that. So you can see what our first task is. We're going to Charing Cross. We had time to watch that entire train arrive and depart while we were waiting. That's interesting. So we are leaving at a 40-mile-per-hour setting here in terms of our speed limit. And by the way, if you noticed, I just took notice for the first time with the Sky and Weather Pack installed. This is my first actual real sunset that I have with the sun up in the distance like that over there. It does look, I have to say, a lot better. So the Sky and Weather Enhancement Pack, definitely worthwhile because it made that sun look really, really nice. I think that is a result of the Sky and Enhancement Pack. I don't think that is stock. So I believe that is an enhancement. We have a train coming in from, I believe this is the train from Charing Cross. This train would be the 2E55 service. That's a Bulloch to, or sorry, Airdrie to Bulloch via Singer is the way I should refer to that as. The train that came by as we started our scenario was the Larkhall to Milngavie service 2L03. Now we get to see the sun right in our eyes. Very nice. But it's late enough that it's not bothering us. Actually, it's morning. I called it sunset. It's sunrise. So, yeah, this is actually morning. Disregard the sunset portion. That's not accurate. So 7:48 is our current time. The next train that we're going to be encountering is going to be 2M23. It'll be coming from the High Street area. We're not quite near that yet, so we're not going to see it yet. It will go into movement, I think, while we're at Charing Cross. Our arrival time at Charing Cross, in fact, is 7:50. We get 77 points per stop, so do the math. We have 13 stops here. That's how this is going to be calculated today. Are my headlights on? They are now. Not that you really see anything in here with them on, so it doesn't matter. So I have the throttle completely off at this time because we are going to be slowing down at Charing Cross. The path to Exhibition Centre is to our right, technically, as it goes over us. Of course, that's where Suburban Glasgow ends. If you have the freeware version of the route from 2019, that is still existing. In fact, there is another version using this payware version. It requires a detail pack like the other one did. But it is on the workshop as well, and I believe you can also use Anderston in that version as well. I might be braking a little early. I'm not used to the 320s braking anymore because it was, like I said, it was literally the maybe second or third train I drove on the channel, so I'm not used to it at all anymore. Can I get a step 2? Thank you. And arrival at Charing Cross, platform number 1. I think the messages are going to be like this all the way, so I'm not going to read it every single time. We'll just close them if they keep doing that. So leaving Charing Cross, our next stop is Glasgow Queen Street. Platform number 9. Remember, there are only 2 platforms on our path. The rest of the platforms are the main platforms accessed from the Edinburgh route. So via the Cowlairs. I think it's called Cowlairs. I can't remember now. It's been a while. Cowlairs or Cowstairs. I'm not sure which it is. I remember the Y junction there has the railway building right in the middle of it, which I think is very, very fitting for that junction. Our due time is 7:53. We have 1 minute to make our stop. I'm keeping the throttle off at this point. You can see there is a 30 up ahead. We'll deal with that after High Street. This might be the train from, I didn't bring it up in time, but I think that's the train that came from High Street. That would make sense. If I can get that over to a step 1. I came in a little slowly there, so I had too much brake applied there. It takes time to get used to it again. We'll try and get it right before we get to the Airdrie section. Alright, good enough. We have arrived at Glasgow Queen Street, platform number 9. Leaving Glasgow Queen Street High Level, our next stop is Glasgow High Street. Just referred to in the DLC as High Street, but it does have Glasgow in the name, so there is that. We're going to be pulling into High Street around the same time, or maybe just before, a service from Edinburgh to Helensburgh Central. This is service 2H43. It was scheduled to stop, or at least go through Bellgrove at about 7:56. So we are literally at that point right now. It should be coming up to High Street. There's also a service at Duke that we're going to get to in a second as well. We have a double yellow signal. So the service at Duke Street that I'm expecting is going to be service number 2V39. We'll talk about that one in just a moment. For right now, let's worry about making our stop. Notice I'm taking my time on the speed as well. I did not want to rush the speed in because I have lots of time to make this stop. Get that step 2 brake on. Now I don't want to go past the platform. Thank you very much. You can see the other train coming in the distance. Doors are open. Back in the cab, you can see that train is now leaving. By the way, you may have noticed I skipped a little bit of time at Glasgow Queen Street. Turns out there was a huge gap in time there. That 7:53 arrival, 7:56 departure. That's the longest gap on this scenario in terms of arrival and departure if you're on time and you stay for the 30 or 35 seconds. So that is the longest such break. Of course, I'm going to cut all that out as I usually do. So now we're going to be leaving Glasgow High Street, heading to Bellgrove. Now, last I checked, we had a double yellow signal. This could still be a yellow signal up ahead, but we can still speed up for now, as we're going to be able to go up to 30 anyway. We should be able to stop from a 30 if need be. 2V43 should be coming in Edinburgh Waverley to Helensburgh Central. No, that's the service we just saw, sorry. The service that should be coming 2V39 is a Cumbernauld to Dalmer via Yoker service. That should be coming from Duke Street. Here is the 30. There is that service. I'll bring up the tag to show you. There it is. So it's making a stop at... Well, it's not at Bellgrove anymore, but it was making a stop at Bellgrove, I believe. And even if we had a red, our red would be after Bellgrove anyway. So we'll see what the signal is when we get to Bellgrove. I'm going a little bit slowly on this part of the journey because I was being extra careful in case I did see a red. But I realized a little late that I'm not going to see that red until I'm at the platform. I have to come in slow enough to the platform because I missed the other signal. I didn't see if it was a single yellow or something else. I don't recall responding to it though, so it might actually be green by now. But all the same, I'm going to be careful anyway. Ah, it is a green. I can just come in. Alright. So we're just going to come in. Now, something you're not going to see, I cut out a major leg spike there. Just going to pause for a second. I cut out a major leg spike in that spot because I was not expecting this leg spike. It was the kind of spike I saw when I was driving on the route between, or when I approached San Bernardino. It was a leg spike that reminded me of that. So that style of leg spike I just had here. So it seems like this is going to be a problematic route from a quality perspective, at least for the time being. This new section seems to be loading in very slowly. So maybe it's just because it's the first time I've been here. Maybe the blueprint loading in will make it faster now, but I'm not convinced. We'll see what happens. In any case, let's open the doors here at Bellgrove for our passenger stop. Leaving Bellgrove, our next stop is Carntyne. We're finally going to go to new territory here. I believe we have 9 new stations. In fact, because the number of stops, I know it's 9 new stations. We have 13 stops. We're 4 in. We're entering a 60, and I think we're going to stay on a 60 now. Remember on the junction turning off, it would be a 30. There is all the same a 50 coming up. So there goes the road to Duke Street. That's the road we normally would take. So apparently what's down here caused me a lot of lag and problems. Loading lag. Hopefully just the one spot. So I've now turned off the throttle. I am near my 50 mile per hour speed restriction. Our arrival time is 8:04. Little lag there too. 8:04:55, I believe that said. We've been good for our timing so far, so I'm not concerned about the 55 in this case at all. Normally I would say bump it up to the next minute, but I think we're going to be okay here. This one might look a little tight though. I may have to do this one at speed. That bridge might have been what was causing some of the lag. That bridge had to load in. Interesting. This stop is actually going to be a little tight. I can see that now. From what I can see, it is doable, but it's going to be tight. So I'm going to want to use a full service application here, which is why I turned that on. Back to a step 2. Back to a step 1, actually. I don't need to go full emergency at this point. So we're down to a 25 as we get to the platform, and then I'll just bring it to a stop. There we go. A little more brake power, please. And back to a step 1 for a moment. And let's just turn that on full step 2 at this point. Should be enough. And arrival at Carntyne, platform number 2. Before I say anything else, yes, that should say Carntyne, not Carntyne. You know how the R and the N look in this game. Leaving Carntyne Station, our next stop is Shettleston. We're due in a minute and a half. Should be easy. Now, something that I was going to leave until later, but I know how long this video is going to get with a scenario of this length, so I'll just kind of throw this out now, and you can see what I mean when we get to the end. I've seen actually other videos covering this extension as well before I came to play it, and there were some complaints about how the route is, and I'm going to quote, unfinished. I'm going to talk about this more as we get to the longer stretch, but there's actually a reason for that. I actually reached out to Ian, who actually made the route, Ian McKay. Rivet didn't change anything on the route, and this was per his request, by the way. I'm not going to go too much into the conversation with him, but I do want to talk about something I did find related to the DLC as we get to a longer section of route. So here we are right now coming into Shettleston. For now, we're going to focus on how nice all these areas look. I did not have any loading lag in this section, which is good news. And arrival at Shettleston, platform number 2. Leaving Shettleston, our next stop is Garrowhill. We did miss, or at least rather, I didn't call out the service that went by us. That was 2E57 in Airdrie to Bulloch service. And that one went through Shettleston about 8:02, so it did pass us already. I just didn't call it out. We're going to probably pass another train on the way from Blairhill here. Went through there at 8:04. 2M25, which is an Edinburgh Waverley to Milngavie service. That's going to be coming up. It's a limited stop service. That's probably the next train we're going to be seeing. Maybe in this block, maybe the next one. Let's find out when we get up there. We're on a bit of a uphill gradient right now, 1 in 90. So we are pushing the throttle at a higher level than usual because of that. I've eased it back to a step 2, which is barely gaining. Step 1 will lose at this pace speed, but we are going to want to lose speed in a moment anyway because we're coming up on Garrowhill. A little bit of lag in this section. I've done this a couple times, which is why you saw the sunflower come back on in the middle here, because I did this a couple times. But I can't get that lag to not go through, so we're going to see a little lag here, unfortunately. I'm also going to start braking a little bit right now. There is that service I mentioned. So I hit the brakes a little bit there to help me with my stop. Going to hit the brakes a little more right now to get ourselves down in time at the platform. That'll do nicely. I'm going to take them off for a moment. Get to step 2, thank you. That's full service. I did not want full service. So I've eased it back to step 1 to bring the train in gently. Not release. Full step 1, thank you. Arrival at Garrowhill, platform number 2. Leaving Garrowhill, our next stop will be Easterhouse. You saw that it was actually fairly close. We're only about a mile away from it. We're not going to see any other trains until we see 2H45 coming from Coatbridge, Sunnyside, going through there about 8:09. So it's actually just leaving there about a minute and a half ago. That's the next train we will see. When we do see that, note that it's an Edinburgh Waverley to Helensburgh Central service, just like the... similar to the other one, except the other one went to Milngavie. So I've taken the throttle off. We have the time to make this stop without any problems here. We're not going to have to rush this one in. So I'm going to bring the speed down a little early on this one. That Garrowhill stop is just a little bit tight, unfortunately. Doable, as you can see, but a little tight. So I'm using the step 1 brake here to get me down to 25 in time for the platform. I'm actually a little early on that, so I'm taking it off a little bit now. As in, I removed it completely. The brake, that is. Okay, now we're going to ease our way in. We are in the platform, so we're going to start our stop. If I can get to step 2, there we go. I'm actually going to coast onwards just a little bit here to give me a little bit of extra platform space. And that'll do nicely right there. Arrival at Easterhouse, platform number 2. Leaving Easterhouse, our next stop is Blairhill. (8:16) is our arrival time scheduled at Blairhill. You can see we have 4 stops remaining here, so we are 5 miles away from Airdrie. Looks like we have a little bit of a clear stretch here, so I'll just talk very, very briefly about the way the route is as it is. I kind of alluded to it earlier, or if maybe I cut that part out, I don't know. But Ian McKay, as you may remember, made the Suburban Glasgow route that used to be a freeware route on the Steam Workshop. I think about 2018 or 19 or something like that. Might even been 2017, I don't know. But he released the route on the Steam Workshop, released a detail patch to add things that were missing. For example, Anderson Station, the Cumbernauld and Greenfalls areas. So all of this was things that he added. There's that other train, by the way. That was to H45 going by from Coatbridge. So remember, he released this as a free route on the Steam Workshop. This is basically the commercial version of the route. Now fully available on Steam up to Airdrie. The Cumbernauld section is not available, and all the unfinished areas that were not completed on his freeware route, they're also not available. We will look at the freeware route at some point because I do have it. I put it away, and I put the detailed packs away, and they are in my library. So we will look at it at some point. It's not installed right now because I had to change computers again, but we will look at it. Change computer hard drives, I should say. So it's not installed at the moment, but it will be. I just actually reinstalled the Just Train stuff today for the first time because I decided I want to do some Just Train stuff again soon. So I've just been installing Just Train stuff today as well. Looking forward to how Western Main Lines breaks my computer. That's going to be fun. So the reason behind it being the way it is, people saying this is an unfinished route, just remember that the route is advertised as a route to Airdrie, and Airdrie is the end of the North Clyde line. The line to Bathgate is a different line. So the intention, just like with why Anderson didn't make it into the Suburban Glasgow route, which, by the way, I'm still salty about. That should have still been in there with Glasgow Central, in my opinion, but we won't talk about that. The reason why the route to Bathgate was not in fully sceneried was because Rivet does not plan to go beyond that, and also Ian McKay didn't want to have that modified because then it wasn't entirely his work. And he is, of course, getting credit for the route as it is being published. So this is still Ian McKay's work. This is not Rivet's work at all in any sense. They're just the publisher of the route. And this is just the same that DTG will publish third-party routes on Steam from time to time. It's the exact same thing. DTG publishes third-party routes. So, I'm going to get the brake on because I'm coming in a little fast here. So it's the same idea. Rivet is publishing someone else's work here in a sense. And it's getting money for both them and for EA himself, which I can't fault him for. He's got a project on Steam. A lot of route makers, I'm sure, would kill to have a project on Steam. Or at least sold somewhere, even on a different site like Just Trains. We'll talk about that in a case later. Arrival at Blairhill. Leaving Blairhill, our next stop is Coatbridge Sunnyside. There's one more train we're going to see, number 2E59, I believe I read it as. That's a service that's going to be coming from Airdrie. It's at Airdrie right now, not leaving for another 40 seconds. By the way, I do know the 25 is coming up. I'm just getting a little extra speed here while I can. We'll bring that down now. So now we're down at the speed limit we should be at. That was intentional. So, yeah, that train's going to be leaving in about 20 seconds from Airdrie. I can show you on the map right now. I'm just not going to. And we're going to see that train going by. So this is a 25 into Coatbridge, Sunnyside. This is a slow area. By the way, the West Coast Main Line... no, is the West Coast Main Line? No. My mind has suddenly blanked. No, it's not the West Coast Main Line. That goes to Glasgow itself. The route to Cumbernauld is the route I'm trying to get at here. That route with Coatbridge Central, that's the bridge from it that we just went under. We just went under that bridge. So that area still was basically copied over from the West Coast Main Line. The track layout, the portal even shows up there. I don't want to bring up the map right now because I'm trying to make my stop, obviously, so I can't show you right now. Maybe on the next scenario I will bring that up and I'll show you what I mean by that. But the portal for the West Coast Main Line is actually there, and that's because the original workshop version of this route included that section to Cumbernauld. So the portal is right from West Coast Main Line north. So that's the exact same portal. In any case, we've arrived at Coatbridge Sunnyside, platform number 2, and my doors didn't want to open, but now they have. Leaving Coatbridge Sunnyside, our next stop is Coatdyke. I had to read that twice because I couldn't believe I was reading that. I forgot the name. Coatdyke is the name of the next station. We're still at 25 mile per hour speed limit. There is service 2E59 that I mentioned earlier. That is a train to Bulloch going via Singer. Not that we care about those details because it could probably portal out before it gets anywhere near that part of the line. We can go 60 now, so we're going to do that. $8:21 is our due time, so we need to get that speed up. Make sure to like the video, by the way, if you're enjoying the ride here today, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is free. I don't get anything from it, so I just do this for enjoyment. Oh, we have a terminus platform at Airdrie. Very nice. So we're going to talk a little bit about the path through Airdrie to Bathgate in a little while, because they're in the final section, I should say, in the next section, because there. I can slow down quite a bit, by the way. Let's do that, because there is actually something about that I want to get at talking about. I want to talk about a little bit here, because this is something that I did confirm from EA, and I assumed that because he told me this, I assumed that I can actually explain this. And if I'm not supposed to, I apologize, but it's probably better I do say it. I'm going to save this a little bit for you all in the next section, so stay with me for this final leg, and I will explain why the route is the way it is. So this is something that is going to interest the route builders, because this was intentional for route builders. I think you can see what I'm getting at here. Anyway, arriving at Coatdyke, let's bring the train to a stop. And we have done so. Arrival. And let's look at the train one more time before we start our last stretch. Leaving Coatdyke, our final stop, of course, is Airdrie. And that's our next stop. So I kind of hinted that there's a reason the route is the way it is. I'll bring up the map briefly to show you what I mean by this. Notice that we're going to Airdrie, but all this section over here exists, all the way over to Livingston North, which is over here. We'll look at that in the area at some point. I'm not going to be able to get over there today, but because our service ends, obviously, at Airdrie. But nothing beyond Airdrie is actually sceneried. This I can show you while we're at the station. Before I actually go to the end of the service to look at the train, I'm going to actually show you that. Now, I should be going a little faster right now because I can bring the train to a stop. Look at this. Very nice. Very nice these bridges get in there. $8:26, I believe that is. I'm going to bring up the timetable and confirm. Yes, 8:26 is our scheduled arrival time. We have lots of time to do this, so I'm not even trying to get up to 60. There's no reason to. This is what a timetable should be. It should have room for, in case something happens, it should have that little extra cushion room if needed. Now, if we're at 25 when we pass that sign, we're doing ourselves a disservice. That's a little too fast at that point. So we're going to go ahead and bring our speed down to 15 a little early here. We have 2 full minutes to make our stop, only a quarter of a mile to go, less than a quarter of a mile to go. So there's no problem going 15 because it'll take us a minute to go that quarter mile. Pardon me, by the way. So I'm down at around 16 already when I get to the 25. There you go. So now we're coming into the 15. So this main line, as you may know, goes into Bathgate, or continues along the way to Bathgate, Livingston North, and eventually Edinburgh. So let's go ahead and stop here for just a moment and pop out of the train. I'm going to pause the game, and we're going to go ahead and look at what's beyond that. So if we continue on, you see there's obviously a red signal here. We can't go any further on this route, which you would expect. So if you continue all the way over to here, when you get over to this part of the area, you see that it's all blank. So there's some houses there, there's a factory or something over there, there's stuff here, and that's it. Everything is blank from here onwards. Now, there are going to be people asking, why is this all blank? And it's a good question. It's a very valid question. Why is it all blank? The honest reason that I received from Ian is that he actually wants people to work on this. And as such, I poked around in the, before I even contacted him, I poked around in the AP file. If you look in the stations area, in the folder in the stations section, you're going to notice there are signs for Livingston North, Bathgate, even Cumbernauld and Greenfalls. He can actually add his Cumbernaulds and Greenfalls stuff. Maybe not the assets, they have to be in a detail pack. But people can literally make their own builds of these extensions to Bathgate and whatever. They can merge it back to Edinburgh. There's one station missing. I don't know if it was a station that wasn't open during this, at this point. I'm going to have to look into that. But one station was missing at the end beyond Livingston North before you connect back to the Edinburgh-Glasgow route. But it is possible otherwise to merge this back onto the Edinburgh-Glasgow route. It literally is possible to remerge it and update the Edinburgh-Glasgow route. So this is something that could be updated. This is something that maybe someone in the Alan Thompson Sim group is going to want to be interested in making this portion of the route. I don't know. Maybe someone will do that. Maybe someone won't. I can't say what they're going to do. It could be merged back into the Edinburgh-Glasgow, maybe as part of the Network Scott East project. I don't know. There's all sorts of possibilities that could exist here. So we're going to go ahead and just let that speculate and fester for whoever wants to consider that possibility. I have to admit, I like how the neighborhoods are very accurate in this. Like, remember in the original route, the neighborhoods were, I commented on some of the neighborhoods, the circle roads and everything. They were very, very nice. And the neighborhoods are no less good on this part of the route. It's just too bad that it's only a 9 station extension. I don't know if it was 9 miles, but definitely 9 stations. So it's just too bad that that's all we got on this segment of route. I wish that we did get the Cumbernauld branch, but I guess it was not really serviceable because Cumbernauld would have taken you to Coatbridge. That would have been it. There would have been no point to really doing that. So I can see why they cut off the Cumbernauld section on this route and didn't include it. In any case, we're going to go ahead and get back in our train here, which is still moving. It just doesn't look like it. So let's go ahead and hop in. We're going to get ourselves moving again. So we are approaching the Airdrie platform 1 right now, which is a terminus for us. We're going to make sure that we don't get an emergency brake triggered on us. So I'm bringing it down to 10 so I can coast in gently. And we're getting close enough now that I'm going to bring it down a little more. 5 is good enough. We have a full 50 seconds to make this stop. Give or take about 10 in one direction. There's another terminus down there too, but it's not a platform. It's more of a storage yard. So you might take a train from storage and back it in the platform to start the service. That could be a possibility. I don't know if that's an actual service pattern or not, but it'd be neat if it is. So we're just going to go ahead and just coast in. Actually, I should go a little faster here. Coast into the buffer. Get the buffer into the window a little bit here. That'll do nicely. Arrival at Airdrie, platform number 1. That's the end of the scenario. Let's take a look at the train one more time. And so our October 5th service in 2017 comes to an end. We're going to move back a couple months in the next scenario to August 5th of 2017. And we're going to go in the other direction. But this time we're going to continue beyond Partick to go about 15 minutes longer, heading towards Milngavie. That's going to be the next service we do. I don't know the stopping pattern if it's going to be all stations. I assume it will be, but we don't know. I don't know yet anyway. So we'll look at that next time. For right now, again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to build your own version of the Bathurst route up to Livingston North, go for it. I want to see it. I want to play it. Let's take a look at it. Do it if you can do it. And we will definitely drive something on it. It probably will be something beyond just 320s. But whatever the case is, I want to see it. Bring it on if you can do it. In any case, let's go ahead and look at our score. So yeah, naturally, if you do perfect stops, you're going to get a perfect score. Proven that's possible. There you go. We can only afford 1 point loss in the entire scenario. So I actually did have a stop that, on my first try at one of the stops, I didn't realize it was such a tight stop. And it's one of the ones that I ended up redoing. Plus, there were some that had quality issues as well. I was trying to smooth out. Couldn't get them all smoothed out, unfortunately. But I do see now that in the case where I was 1 second late, I could have actually taken that. And I could have still finished with a perfect score. Interesting. Good to know. So I didn't like the way that stop went, though, so I had to redo it anyway. In any case, yeah, that's one scenario done. We'll see you next time for the second scenario, which I do have again in my hand because I printed out something for it already. That is the Spring Hill in my step scenario. There's more trains in that scenario, all 320s, because that's all that comes with the route in terms of passenger trains. Of course, we'll probably play services that have other trains in the future on this route, but for right now, 320s is good. We are going to see those 320s. And at some point, I know you're asking, am I going to put the 320 that comes with the AP 321 pack in here? The answer is yes. I'm probably going to do that on the long drive scenario for my own train. For the one that goes all the way from Airdrie to Helensburgh in one service, I will probably use the AP one for that. So you can look forward to that. I'm going to have to get a little practice with it on the first couple stops, but before I actually broadcast it, I think, even though I'm sure it's fine. It is an older pack and some of the buttons are different, so I have to figure out what's different with it. But in any case, I will definitely look at the 320 on the final passenger scenario, and I haven't decided if it's going to be on this run of 3 scenarios or if I'm going to do one of the freight trains right now. I actually do have an inclination to leave the freight trains together on a weekend or something like that. I have half a mind to do that, especially because one of them is a shorter service, the other one's a longer one, so it's a good Friday-Saturday combination, I think. Maybe I'll leave those together and I'll do the last passenger service. I haven't decided yet. In any case, I will definitely have on Tuesday, whatever it is. I know I'm going to be gone at some point on the weekend as well, so I'm actually a little concerned if I'm going to have enough time to do this. That could also factor into my decision-making. But in any case, I will try and get something done for you there for Tuesday, obviously. And I will see you for tomorrow for the spring... What did I call it again? What was it called? I keep forgetting. Spring Hill in my step, I think it is. Yeah, Spring Hill in the step. So I'll see you tomorrow for that. I'm Cyclone. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever it is for you, your part of the world. I'll see you next time for more Let's Play Train Simulator Classic. Bye-bye.